Howdy gamers. Let's talk about the runes for Akali solo lane, because she can be played mid-top, more commonly top lane, I think. Akali kind of one of the more popular champions in League now. She might like kind of be surpassing Yasuo at this rate, but anyways, the two major keystones that you're going to be running on Akali is going to be Fleet of Footwork and then Conqueror, but most commonly Conqueror. So let's start off with this. Conqueror, you gain stacks of Adaptive Force whenever you deal damage to enemy champions, and this is you double the stacks if you're melee, which Akali is. So every time you land your Q, your auto, E, etc., you're going to be getting 2 stacks of Conquer, and then whenever it's fully stacked, you're just going to have the more Adaptive Force, and then you're also going to have healing on 15% of damage that you deal to enemy champions. So Conquer is basically your better all-in tool, and then also just gives you more stats for free, and is more brutal in that sense. So it helps you more in team fights, and then also helps you beating an opponent down, even if they're playing a stronger champion. So in the top lane, it would be champions with a lot of unfair stats, champions like Darius, and the mid lane's a bit harder as the champions are usually squishier, but maybe a champion like Irelia, who has a lot of tools to just eat a lot of damage without much repercussion for doing so. So with Conqueror, you get the stats for free, and then once it's fully stacked and you're basically all in the enemy, then you're also going to be healing off the damage that you're dealing. So it has pretty good synergy with Akali, and it's obviously why you want to run it. Second rune is going to be Presence of Mind. The way they changed Presence of Mind coming into Season 10 is whenever you get a takedown, it restores 20% of your maximum mana, which Akali doesn't have, or energy, which she does have, and increases the maximum energy by 10 up to 50. And once this is fully stacked, you're going to be able to get another Q off throughout a fight because you're just going to have the more energy to do so. Whenever your Q is maxed, you have 80 energy, and then defaultly you have 200 maximum energy. But then with this, you have 250, so you can just cast it one more extra time, which is so crazy. And it's just weird that they added it like this, but since it's there, you should take it while it's still there, because you otherwise just don't get that Q off that you could have got off. So strange. And in clutch situations too, if you need the E or something else, like you're just gonna have the more energy to just have more abilities as well. So strange that they did that change. Anyways, third rune's going to be Legend Tenacity. Akali doesn't make use of the extra attack speed you would get from Alacrity or the lifesteal that you would get from Bloodline. With Legend Tenacity too, it makes it so brutal for any supports to deal with Akali, any junglers, any support champions, even the like tankier top laners, champions like Ornn, Sion, etc. Like it makes it really hard for them to actually like pin down Akali and kill her like in a fight. And if you're eating those abilities and surviving, it's good. But if the enemy doesn't kill you, it's like great because it makes any fight that Akali's like surviving more brutal. Because if you're playing into CC champions, you're going to be outscaling them. So if they're not killing you early in the game, it just multiplies the value, like because you're existing more and you're getting more CS and you're just outscaling them. Fourth is going to be Coup de Grace. You do have matchups in which you can run Last Stand. It'd be again top lane matchups that like the all-in goes to the wire, so probably champions that are stronger, champions again like Darius and Irelia, but most likely it's going to be Coup de Grace. Obviously, having synergy with Akali's entire kit, you build up damage on the enemy, and then you execute them with the ult. And with Coup de Grace, you deal 8% more damage to champions below 40% health. The way you lead with a combo with Akali is like dumping all your damage at once and then finishing them off, so has perfect synergy with Akali. Great rune. Your secondary rune trees is where you have the most variance on Akali's runes. So let's just go over with Domination first. Your options are Taste of Blood and Ravenous Hunter. Regardless of the lane you're in, this obviously just gives you better trading tools. As Taste of Blood, you heal whenever you deal damage to an enemy champion, and this is on a 20-second cooldown. And then Ravenous Hunter, you heal for a percentage of damage dealt by your abilities. So both of these obviously just gives you better trading tools, but the better way to think about it is like whenever you're running into lanes that have to deal a certain amount of damage to you, or else they're losing. So in top lane, a good example would be like Ornn. all the damage that he's doing to you can kind of be offset by the healing that you have from this. So Ornn trades a full rotation, you trade 1 Q, and then you go out of the circle and then trade the auto Q. And then every every other instance of damage that you're going to be dealing after that, you're going to be offsetting the damage that he dealt to you. In the mid lane, it would be a good matchup to think about would be a champion like LeBlanc, where if LeBlanc doesn't build up damage with like her Q and E, whenever she's trying to trade on to you in lane, then you're just beating her. And if she misses those abilities, or whenever you're just taking trades in lane, you're going to be offsetting the initial damage that she deals with Taste of Blood and Ravenous Hunter. So those would be the matchups in which you would want to run those. And then for Resolve, you have the option of Second Wind, Bone Plating, Overgrowth, and then maybe Revitalize. But Revitalize is kind of unnecessary and kind of anti-synergistic in a ways. With Second Wind, after you take damage from an enemy champion, you heal for 4% of your missing health, plus 6 over 10 seconds. So you would run this in a losing lane and a losing ranged lane. So in top or mid lane, if you were playing against champions like Lucian, who just have obvious advantages, they outdamage you and deal way too much damage early, you would take a Doran Shield and then Second Wind into them and say, I'll see ya at 20 minutes, man. You win lane. Congrats for picking that champion. Bone Plating, after taking damage from an enemy champion, the next 3 spells or attacks you receive from them deal 30 to 60, that's based on your level, less damage. But this is on a 45-second cooldown, so Bone Plating is not as good of a tool whenever you're dealing against ranged lanes, but it's a better tool whenever you're playing against melee lanes that just have, I want to dump all their damage when they finally get on top of you. So champions like Renekton, Camille, whenever they choose to finally attack you and Bone Plating's up, you're just strictly taking less damage. So it's like effectively just having like 40 or 50 or 60 more HP for free at the start of these trades. And then especially in top lane, when you're playing against these melee champions, like the cooldown isn't that bad because they can only all in or get on top of you so many times throughout like a 10-minute laning phase, right? So Bone Plating helps offset a lot of that. And then second rune with Overgrowth, you absorb life essence. You absorb life essence from monsters or enemy minions that die near you, permanently gaining 3 max health every 8. When you've absorbed 120 monsters or minions, probably minions, you gain an additional 1.3 maximum health. So this is basically like you're going to get about a ruby crystal for free come the end of a laning phase. So having that extra health plus Bone Plating is literally just free health. It's just free health. You're going to be itemizing the same way you would, but you're just playing with like 200 extra health basically. So it makes any melee matchup just a bit easier, as if they're dumping all the damage into you and then you're surviving it initially, you're going to be able to heal it up and then actually continuing a fight regardless of like the scoreline or the items. You know, it just helps you be able to absorb more damage because you just have more health. And then for adaptive runes, it's going to be adaptive force, and then depending on your matchup, you'd go armor or magic resist. So top or mid lane, if you're against Lucian, Renekton, Camille, physical damage champions, you run armor. And then obviously, more commonly in the mid lane, if you're against champions like Syndra, LeBlanc, etc., you'd run the magic resist. So you do have to change this every single game, so it's not like a just put it and drop it into a rune page, but that's that. So these are the default runes I'd recommend for Akali. The variants, Bean, would be the keystone of Fleet of Footwork, and with Fleet of Footwork, it's an interesting option as you want to run it into lanes that kind of similar to the Domination tree, where you want to run it into lanes that have to take trades to win, and if they're not doing that, they're just losing the entire game. So again, lanes like Ornn and LeBlanc, especially LeBlanc, like a pretty prevalent solo queue pick. If you have the extra healing to offset her damage early, and you're winning the trades against her, like she's just losing the game, you outscale LeBlanc, and then if she continues to entertain those trades with you in lane, like you're gonna just beat her in the trades and then either be winning lane or just kill her outright. So it makes the matchup super brutal for her. And then with Fleet of Footwork, it also makes the extra healing makes the laning phase easier, and then you also have the extra movement speed. So in fights, if you're using it for the movement speed, then you can also use it to reposition with the shroud a bit faster, and then maybe catch enemies off guard. But that's really it with Fleet of Footwork. It's not that prevalent of a rune, and is really kind of just a solo queue thing in my opinion, where you're just getting the extra healing to beat a laner who's going to beat themselves anyways, kind of. Conquer is like going to be giving you the extra stats and then giving you the better all-in because you have the extra stats, and then it's so synergistic because with Akali you're going in to deal damage initially and then you're finishing them off, and once you're trying to finish them off you're just going to have more AP from Conqueror, and then as the fight persists you're going to be healing off the damage you deal. So especially in team fights when you're landing your ult on multiple targets and your Q on multiple targets, the healing from Conqueror or Ravenous Hunter is going to really add up and be pretty brutal for the enemy to try to deal with, especially if they're focusing the Akali during all that. So that's it. That's it for the Akali runes. Those are the default runes I'd recommend. The variations you do have to adjust for depending on the matchups with the Domination and Resolve secondary tree, but that's that. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I answer literally all of them, and if this video helped you, leaving a like helps me. And if you're interested in some support gameplay, I'll be streaming once Season 10 starts. Finally. Links in the description, twitch.tv/SawyerNelson. I'll probably be playing Senna. The champion's kind of broken, man.